Hey, this is Brimstone. You're watching AFK away from the keyboard. Ain't no better place to be than right here watching now.
Please welcome Sam Jones and Melody Anderson. Awesome. So just to let you know, we do have two microphones, one to your left and one to your right over here. Feel free to start lining up for questions. I'm just going to get things going. How are you guys doing today? Welcome.
Welcome. It's great to be here. I'm so glad you guys came out, and I hope your skin clears up. Yeah, it's a great. I look forward to hearing all your questions. Sam?
Oh yes, I'm in agreement. I've got a little bit of laryngitis, but it's okay. She'll translate for me, okay?
Awesome. So, first time San Antonio, second time San Antonio?
Primo.
First one?
Yep.
Yeah, well, I've been here years ago.
When
we used to
why didn't you ask
party
me to come with you?
Years ago, but it's the first
Why
Comic
didn't you
Con.
invite me with you when you went to the Comic Con? You just went by yourself?
Well, after Flash Gordon, I decided to.
This happens all the time. I tell you.
Isn't she beautiful? Come on, look at her.
Look at that.
All right, let's start with the first question right over here.
All right.
Questions for you, Mr. Jones. Well, actually for both of y'all. What would y'all think if they decided to remake Flash Gordon?
Well, that's a very good decision, number one. Fox Studios just acquired the screenplay rights about a year and a half ago. It's been in development for a year and a half. And I really do believe this will come to fruition. Because the executive who bought it, who acquired it, Matt Riley, it had a huge impact on him when he was a young boy. So he's giving it personal attention.
Yeah, and also Steve Soderbergh tried to make it. There's been a couple of people who have tried to remake it over the years. And of course, as you know, at the ending, there was that hint of a sequel with the ring that was picked up by Ming. And so it was always sort of intention to have a second one. But as they say, there's a desire out there in Hollywood. And I really agree with Sam that this time it looks like it's going to happen.
Do you think either one of you would be in for a cameo on it?
Well, I think we may be on it for the lead characters, yes.
Yeah, what the hell are you talking about?
Cameo.
You guys heard it here first at the Alamo City Comic Con.
We got to think big, brother. Think big. Come on.
Go, Flash, go. I mean, I can still do that. Got a bad back now, but I can still do that.
Thank you.
Great question. So reboot possibly happening. You think they ever would film it here in San Antonio possibly, since we got all the cool tower and, all the new construction going on. Have you guys seen that over here at the convention center? Pretty nuts. On that same kind of note, Melody, what's going on right now? You're doing a lot of helping out with private industries with the public and stuff like that.
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, I think one of the great things, especially as you get older and throughout life, is always be flexible. Be like the bamboo shoot that moves and doesn't get broken when the winds come. And so about 20 years ago, I decided to go back and get a master's and lots of training and different degrees. And I became a psychotherapist. Because if you've been on a set in Hollywood, you're around crazies all day, so it's no big deal. So I figured I'd make some money off of that. Also, it's a great career because you can get really old and fat and wrinkled and gray and bald, and people think you're smarter than you really are. So I went there. And then the third thing was, you're going to pay me money to tell you what to do with your life? Oh, Oh, it's every girl's dream. So, so yes, I've been doing it for 25 years, and I speak around the world and at all sorts of places and taught at universities. And I am trained to, and what I especially work with is families who are affected by addictions and trauma. That's my specialty. So I love it. Thank you for asking.
That's awesome, right? Come on, give it up. Yeah, that's awesome.
But let me tell you something. You know, I'm still a very shallow person. So if they called tomorrow and say, would you give it up to come do a movie, make a lot of money? I'd go, I'm there. Forget you people. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Awesome. Right over here.
Yes, good morning, and thank you for being here today. I have to wonder if when you were studying for your roles, did you meet the original Flash and Dale? And if so, did they give you any useful advice for portraying them? Thank you very much.
I was fortunate to do a couple talk shows with the original, and that's Mr. Buster Crabbe. And we did the Tom, you guys wouldn't know this, but the Tom Snyder show, Merv Griffin. I don't think they know these names.
Some
Do you
do,
remember
some do.
Merv Griffin, Tom
All right.
Snyder?
We're still going in our 60s, right?
Good morning, America. Did you do some of those shows with
I did
us?
Merv Griffin,
You
yeah.
did?
No, not
Okay.
with you. You never asked me.
I didn't ask you, yeah. Buster Crabbe was unique, great guy. I think he was in his mid-70s at that time, and he was still ripped and in really good shape. But I think that was the only cast member. Now, what about anybody else? Did we meet anybody else back then?
No.
Part of the original cast?
No, and Sam was cast long before I was cast. There was actually someone there who was supposed to come in before, and whatever happened. So I got a call. I was in New York for a short time. I got a call from Dino de Laurentiis, which I couldn't believe, saying, Melody, you have to come now. You have to fly out tonight to do Flash, because I'd auditioned for the role, but I'd moved on and we were working on other things. I'd leave that night for London. All my stuff was back in LA. And as soon as I arrived, they dyed my hair. They shaved the top of my hair because they wanted it to look like a wig, so why didn't they just put a wig on my head? Anyway, so, and a costume and a screen test, they were happy, and I started working the very next day. So I didn't have the leisure. But you also had to work, and because this guy only used to be 5'4" and weigh about 120 pounds. He had to get into shape.
That's a unique story. I would probably rather have it that quick, yes or no. But with me, the audition process was, oh my gosh, maybe 9 or 10 months.
Wow.
And even when I got to London for the traditional Hollywood screen testing, it went on for 30 days. And for me,
Wow.
It was torturous. I'm a former Marine. I don't want to hear, yeah, maybe. I want to hear yes or no. That's it. So the audition process was I think I bit all my fingernails off, probably even my toenails I bit off, But that's a joke, guys. It's supposed to go, ha, ha, ha. Did he just say toenails? Maybe he's serious. Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we have no fun together whatsoever.
But you should talk more about Dino, and she does a great Dino de Laurentiis impression. But you should really talk about Dino, because he was one of a kind. He really was. You want to talk, or you want to just nod your head?
I don't know. I'd like to live a few more years. Dino, actually, he came out of Rome. He was one of the guys with Carlo Ponti who created Cinecittà. And he's a maestro, an impresario. He loves to come in and change everybody. Like Sam has part Indian in him like I do, and he had dark hair, and so he made him dye it blonde. Mine, they dyed black. They had one of the more handsome guys in British television, the guy who played Clytus, wear a mask. Peter Wingard, and then of course Max von Sydow, shaved his head because we wanted to be really true to the characters in the comics. This was it. It wasn't us playing them. It was the characters that you hopefully were seeing on screen. But he was all of about probably 5'6", 5'7", and he was a whirlwind and a tough taskmaster. But
he reminded me of my old. The DIs, my drill instructors from the Marine Corps. It really was. And I remember we were the only Americans on this production with, I think, 550 people on payroll, cast and crew. And so he had his own opinion about Americans. Come on, he growled a lot, as you said.
Hey, not like that.
But the thing that took me a while to figure out was, iconic Dino De Laurentiis. Why did I always see him every morning in a wrinkled silk suit? I just couldn't put it together until I walked in early. I don't know what happened, but I ended up in his office early morning, and I just popped the door open, and it was before we started shooting, obviously, and he was sleeping in his chair. Guys, this man was such a workaholic that he stayed in his office, he slept in his office, and he woke up wearing the same silk suit.
Unbelievable.
Let me say that again.
That.
Silk suit. Silk suit.
So it was an
I
amazing
couldn't believe
experience. And he was such a smart money guy. If you go see the movie Dune, you'll see a lot of the sets from Flash Gordon in Dune repeated in some of the costumes. And yeah, it's amazing. He's a good businessman. Anyone else? Okay.
Oh, there we go, right here.
So what was it like to be on TED and just like coming back doing more movies?
Oh, it was great. I had the best time. Again, I wasn't invited.
Yeah, what is your name?
Gabe.
Gabe. You just pissed off Melody, man, let me tell you.
Sorry.
I got a call after Seth MacFarlane called me, and she said, yeah, I heard you're doing TED. You better tell him I want to be in there. I said, sweetheart, he just called me. He didn't call you. I'm sorry. It was great. It was his first movie to direct. And, he was, number one, very professional. Number two, he created a very relaxed environment. He gave the actors a lot of freedom.
It's almost like working with Mark.
Yeah, and Mark Wahlberg, very, very humble, young guy, quiet, and he gave a lot, of his time and all that. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was, and go figure, who would know? Just like Flash Gordon, Ted became the number one original R-rated comedy of all time in the history. I think I made $600 million, the first year, which is unheard of for an R-rated comedy. And then we did Ted 2, and of course we'll be sitting here, talking about Ted 12, I'm sure, as the years come. And of course, many more Flash Gordon sequels as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. Right here.
Hello. Thanks, Sam and Melanie, for being here. It's just wonderful that you're here. Despite the U.S. box office, this film has been a part of my life since I was like 7 years old. And it's just amazing. My question for both of you is, did you ever get to see the film before it was scored at any time, before the music was added? And because your on-screen, your chemistry on screen was amazing. And let's say the scene before you were executed in the dungeon where you got to see each other, the score adds so much more emotionality to it. I was just wondering if you knew it, did you hear that while you were acting that scene, and could you have imagined how it would have enlightened it so much?
Yeah, I want her to take this, but I just wanted to add one thing. The reason why we had such great chemistry, because my friend, she didn't need her credentials to be a psychoanalyst, okay? She already had it back then. Go ahead, I want you to address
Remember,
that.
he said that. I didn't. I thought you were quite normal. Anyway, that's such a great point, because I did not see the movie without the music. But when you're acting, of course, there's not any music, partly because of the sound, because they've got to record the sound and not have any background noise. But it is, it'd be an interesting thing to do, to be able to have a movie where your actors could hear the score, which they really can't do until they see the time and the mood of the piece. But absolutely, it'd be even more inspiring, because the music between Queen and this other man, I can't remember his name. Anyway, something.
Who? You mean the music or the?
The theme music was Queen, but the guy who did the cover, the orchestral music throughout. Because he took that thing.
I think it was
Max Kirby, or I don't know.
Henry Mancini, maybe.
That was it. And so, And so, yes, it would be wonderful, but that's not the way it works. So when you see your actors up there, we're really going from just our gut feelings and our training, and we really don't have any sense of what they're going to do with it. Great question, though.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Right over here again.
Just want to say thanks, Flash. You saved every one of us. But what is your most interesting or unusual experience when you were doing the films with Max von Sydow? Did he ever do anything that just made you think, what's going on here?
Well, he was actually a mentor. He gave me some advice. He advised me on two things, and one that I heeded his instructions. The other one took me many, many years. We would always have lunch together, I guess wherever we were. And Max started noticing I started picking the check up for everybody, and he said, Sam, because you got to save your money, man. You got to save your money. And that's the thing that really took me a lot of years to figure out. The second thing, one of the first scenes we had, they had already, we started out, we did his close-up first, and then, back then they had a lot of money to work with, so they were changing the camera angles, and it could be an hour or 2-3 hours later, they were doing my close-up. So he came on set to give me his off-camera lines. But he came back on set with the full wardrobe. I think his wardrobe weighed 60 pounds. Yeah. And I said, Max, it's okay, man. You don't have to do this. Just go relax. And he looked at me and said, Sam, I'm here to give you off-camera lines, and I expect the same thing from you. And you know what? It was such a great point, because as the years went on, I went on to do about 51 other films, and Melody went on to do tons and tons of movies and TV. No, she didn't. She did more than that. It's amazing, what he spoke, because as time went on, you realize most of the so-called big names don't even give you off camera. And if they do show up, it's best that they don't show up at all, okay? It's better just to talk to the wall. So, he had some great vision about that. But that, I heeded those instructions.
Yeah, he was truly one of the great gentlemen I ever met, and was very, very helpful to me as well, because, again, on or off camera, you were just entranced by the power of this man. Plus, it worked for the character, too. And I just consider myself very blessed to have been able to work with a man of his stature, and total gentleman. We were very, very lucky. It was amazing. It was a very hard shoot. Long hours. We were shooting in airplane places where they make airplanes, big old empty freezing
aircraft hangar.
Thank you, Sam. And they had this one, and it was wintertime. It was freezing, and it just physically, and for him too, having to work out every day, and all. It was a very physical show for almost all the actors, and we just connected so well. Brian Blessed, I couldn't stop laughing. He was brilliant and funny.
Tell him about Topol.
Topol, let's just say when I was on the cycle, Topol would grab me a lot. Okay, so anyway.
Well, now was that in or out of character? I don't think it mattered.
In character. But Ornella, we had Tim Dalton. I was there by myself. Sam had a girlfriend of his with him at the time, and they were really, really nice. But I was one day I'm off in London with nobody, and I was just disoriented. Tim Dalton would have me over almost every Sunday for a little brunch or something, just to get me. This was the kind of we were like people.
Now, see, I did not know that.
Now, of course, you didn't invite Sam. Ha ha ha.
Because we lived together. We were like brother and sister.
Yep.
Tell him, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But I didn't know that. Now, how did he treat you?
He was a prince.
Okay.
Oh, he played a prince. Let me think. No, he was so kind, and he knew I was lonely and having a tough time and all that stuff, and so did Sam. And it was, but everybody. In fact, after the movie, Ornella came to L.A., and she and I would get together all the time. So it was really, we were so fortunate, because usually that much cohesion and harmony does not happen among big actors on a set like that, with a lot of pressure. So we were very lucky.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Awesome. What kind of hat is that? Is that a dragon hat?
No, Dar from League of Legends.
I like it. Awesome. Go for it, man.
Wouldn't it be awful if you said, no, I don't have a hat on?
This just covers my giant brain. I was wondering, what is like the most random, unusual place someone has, a fan has recognized you, like out of the blue from your Flash Gordon roles?
I'm sorry, the most
It's
what?
a random weird thing when a fan recognizes
Yeah, like
you.
they spotted you in a bathroom in McDonald's, or
It was that
Yeah,
guy.
I thought I recognized that hairdo. That hairdo.
that was me.
Wait, let me see. Well, you know what's cool about L.A.? I haven't been there. My home is San Diego now. But what was really cool about L.A. is all of the locals. They see celebrities and actors all day long, everywhere, anywhere. But they treat it like this. They go, "Hey, Flash, what's happening?" And they just keep walking. You know, I mean, it's like saying, "Hey, Tom Cruise." Every day they're at the restaurants, the streets, and so it's no big deal. So I don't know. Randomly that happens. It happens all the time. But I can't think of any bathrooms. Yeah, at the urinal. I tell you what, I'll sign that autograph when I'm done here, okay? Or you pull away from the urinal, right? And they put their hand out to shake your hand. I tell you what, we're both going to wash our hands, and then we're going to shake hands.
Oh, my God. Never happened in the urinal with me when I was standing there, so.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Hello. I wanted to ask for my boyfriend. He's over there. He's shy. He is wondering that if you ever imagined that Flash Gordon would become important in the pop culture.
I'm sorry, what was your last piece you said, dear?
That if Flash Gordon would be okay.
Oh, it's okay. You're doing great.
Yeah. My boyfriend was wondering.
Yeah, we got that.
Where's the boyfriend, first of all?
There
is he?
There he is.
All right, ask the question.
Yeah.
Let her off the hook.
Did you imagine that Flash Gordon becomes so important with a culture?
Iconic. Yeah. I got you.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah, that was great.
You know what? You don't deserve her. Okay,
Yeah.
so moving on.
Dang.
You want to answer that?
No, excuse me. No, I pointed to you.
Oh, okay.
You're so bossy. My God, you're so bossy.
Oh my God, this one never stops. Okay, so let me tell you. First of all, when you're an actor and you do a job, especially a film, it doesn't even come out for a year and a half, maybe 2 years sometimes. And so you're on to other things. You kind of do your job, have a nice time, and then move on. So there's nothing in your mind thinking, oh, I hope this is going to be a cult classic and all the stuff. It just goes on. And then the movie came out, and we did really, really well in Europe and Asia and everywhere. And the Americans, because of political reasons, didn't advertise it the way they should have, but we still did pretty good here. So, you kind of go, okay, well, that's that, I'm on. And then what happens is it ends up that here we are 35 years later. Sam and I have been doing this, well, he's probably been doing it more than I have because he never invited me. But I've been doing this with Sam for about 12, 15 years. And it is, first of all, let me tell you something. It is such a joy that you guys come out because we have no idea how we've affected people. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I became an actor is I wanted to move people. And obviously I went on to be a therapist and do that as well. And the fact that people are so affected, we're now into, I think, grandkids and maybe a few great-grandkids that get to see it. I mean, it's such an honor to be able to have that legacy behind. But I think in all respect to the people behind this movie, Lorenzo Semple, who was the writer, was brilliant. The way he wrote those lines, there were so many double entendres throughout the piece. So it worked for adults and it also worked for kids because of the visual. And on the visual level, it was, the Buster Crabbe stuff was done in the 30s, so they kind of went for that, Art Deco Chinese look because of Ming. But the sets and the costumes were so brilliant, we weren't even nominated for Best Costume and Production. I never, there was some hanky-panky going on there. But they had, and the look of it, and it stands, through time. And there's nothing that's dated about it. There's nothing that is, and the acting is not dated because we're all dramatic and sort of playing these characters. And I just am so glad because I think it's a wonderful family film and all ages get something out of it. And I just feel really, really grateful that a project that you don't think, it's a job when you're an actor that goes on like this. It's just such a gift for my life.
And it's funny. I mean, I've only seen the film 8 times. I saw it Wednesday night with a lot of you at the Alamo Drafthouse Theater. And we had a screening there. How many people came to that? Good. Thank you. So I'm discovering things, after 35 years. I mean, if you think about some of the dialogue, there we are in space, right? And Ming is getting ready to blast the Hawkman City there, right? So Flash comes up with this great idea. Why don't let's pull the curtains down and make some parachutes, right? In space. Is anybody getting this?
It's brilliant. This is all Laurentiis sample.
And then Prince Baron comes along and says, Flash, here's some ropes for your parachutes. I mean, that's funny, guys. We're in space, okay? Okay? So anyway, I just picked that up the 8th time I watched it.
Yeah, and I want to say a tribute to Mike Hodges, too, as the director, because he really got the tone of the film. I think Dino wanted it. I don't know what he wanted, but he didn't think it was going to be as funny as it was, and he was upset about that. But Mike Hodges had that subtle British humor, so it was there, it creeped through. And again, hats off to Laurentiis sample.
Yeah. Awesome. Right over here.
We're so excited that you're here. Thank you. The costumes were so eccentric, and I was 5 when the movie came out, but it inspired me to learn how to sew, many years later. And I was wondering, Melody, if you had a favorite, gown or costume that they put you in, if you had a favorite one.
I'll tell you, the black wedding dress, it was all little Italian women sewing bugle beads. It weighed 30 pounds because of the weight of all the bugle beads. Plus I had these headpieces they did stick on with bobby pins and all this sort of stuff. But the black wedding dress was really, really my favorite. It was so spectacular. And there's something, I don't know if you remember the scenes where I'm running around in that kind of orange outfit with topol and the crowns were basically with leather with plaster on them, and then they put the little beads by hand into these headpieces. And you can see, because that's the costume I wore most in the movie, and you can actually see as the movie goes on, like the weight of the beads start making it leaning more and more forward. So if you want to be a real, study of this movie, you can see a couple of sequences that are shot, scenes that are out of sequence, because it'll be like that in one scene and then it's back up like this. But they were, spectacular. I was very, very lucky.
Thank you.
Thanks for asking.
Awesome. Go ahead.
Hi. My question is also about costumes. You guys wore a lot of really interesting stuff. Was there anything that you just had to be convinced to wear, like the leather shorts, the bleached hair, all the interesting stuff?
What you didn't see is during the my screen testing process of 30 days, Dino wanted my eyes blue. So back then they had the hard lens. I couldn't see. I mean, that's why they called it a hard lens. I mean, it felt like glass in your eyes or something. So when it came down to the, they said, okay, this is it. This is your final screen test, and it's good to go. And camera's getting ready to roll, so you gotta have, the hair. The hair was fine because, that's the hair, big deal. But I wasn't comfortable. So I said to myself, or this voice said to me, oh, just don't put them in. They won't even notice. So I didn't put them in. And nobody said a word. And I got the part. With my sort of hazel brown eyes, hazel green, hazel brown, whatever they are. Yeah. So, but that's a very good question. There's a good point here. I really believe it would have affected my performance. So if you have a gut feeling, if you hear some voices, hopefully it's a voice from God. It's not the other voice, But if you hear those voices and that gut feeling, then you need to follow it. It has everything to do with failure or success. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Awesome, good question.
Thanks for not wearing them.
Go for it, brother.
Hi, I was just wondering, do you ever sing the Flash Gordon theme song in the mirror, like when you're brushing your teeth?
Wow.
Oh, you're great.
Now, what voices you been listening to, buddy? Have you done that? Oh, come on.
It's okay.
We're being candid here.
Have you been watching too much Donnie Darko? That's what I want to know.
No, I haven't. I don't. Yeah, I'm not.
You know what's weird though, and I know that you've had this experience as well, is again, you'll just be in a mall, you'll be walking, or when I was in the subways when I was living in New York, and you just hear somebody going, Flash, ah! It's just so bizarre.
Yeah.
But thanks for. You have any other question? Okay, thank you.
Back on this side. Hey, our first one on this side. That's awesome.
This side.
Hi. You guys say I love your performance, Ted, but I got a question though. Would you ever contact the CW to do like a cameo on the Flash, as Flash? As one of his paradoxes, as they...
So there's a TV series called Flash. Oh, sorry. So there's a TV, right, I'm the moderator, I should be using the mic. There's a TV series on CW called Flash, and would you ever go on there and actually cameo as the Flash?
Or as
Flash Gordon, sorry.
Yeah, I would, to answer your question. And also, with the younger age demographic, there's a little bit of confusion. If they've not seen Flash Gordon, I probably, over the weekend, I probably had about maybe 12, 14 little kids come up to me and say, "You're the Flash. You run really fast." And I said, and my reply is, "You're misinformed, young man."
I know the distinction, thankfully. I was like,
That's good. So yeah, he would do a nice cameo. That'd be awesome. I would love to see that. Would you guys like to see that? Yeah. So you get on your Twitters and all that fun stuff, and tell them, let them know. Let's go over here.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to say that I have your VHS, your Blu-ray, your DVD. I have action figures. I love the movie. I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so it was like really nice to see you. And I thought it was totally kick butt that you were in Ted again. So. So I just say hi.
Right, okay.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you very much. And thank you for reminding the leading lady. Yeah.
Right over here.
Right over here. Hello. If and when they make the new movie, the remake, who would y'all like to see play you guys as the characters?
Who do you want to see play the leading lady? I mean, we're definitely going to be in there, but
You promise?
No, it's nothing against you. They just have to have
A younger girl.
They have to, it's okay. They have to cater to that age demographic, early 20s,
You know what?
And we're just, we're a little bit older than the early 20s, so, that's. But who do you want to see as a leading lady?
I don't know. There's so many lovely girls out there, but I can't think of anybody lovelier than me. So just a little, I don't know a lot about the young actors, and I don't like them because they're younger than me. So I can't answer that. I wish I could.
Oh, I can. I'd like to see, for the part of Princess Aura, or Nalamuti, I would like to see Eva Mendes.
You mean Sofia Vergara?
Her too.
That's the one. Yeah. She could do it. She'd be great.
She has that sort of look. But funny enough, Ashton Kutcher, right? If you take a photograph of him at the age of 25 and you take a photograph of me at the age of 25, I'm telling you, it's almost it's almost same hairdo, everything. The features, we are almost identical. And I think when it's either Neil Moritz or Stephen Summers who had the rights, they asked him to play the lead in Flash Gordon, but he turned it down. I don't know why. But he's, as far as similarities,
physical,
Ashton Kutcher, but he's in his 40s, right? He's in his 40s? So I guess they'd have to go for, 25-year-old. But some of these upcoming guys, I know the guy who's doing great now with Jurassic Park and Galaxy, Chris Pratt. How old is he? Is he in his
30s, right? 30s?
Yeah, I mean, that guy can bring some comedy too, man. He is hysterical, and he's also an action hero,
No, I'd like to ask the audience, especially for those of you who are used to the actors in that age group, who you would think. Anybody?
Channing Tatum. Get out of here, dude. Channing Tatum.
Or any ideas for Dale Arden? Anybody know any young actresses that they would like to see?
Blake
Lively?
Oh,
okay, great. Good.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
Someone say Stan Lee. That was get out of here.
For Dale Arden, yeah.
Let's go right over here.
Just first off, a huge fan of the movie, huge fan of both y'all for your acting in that movie. My question is, was there a specific scene and dialogue that stands out to you as being one of your favorites? And as far as the dialogue is concerned, can you recite it?
Yes. Yeah, well, we got to go with what the big action scene, the big football scene. Come on, with Dale on the side.
Okay, first of all, I got to give it to him, because what happened was we walked onto that set, and the extras are holding these things that look like little Fabergé eggs, and they're all like soccer balls or something. They're all painted up. And Sam looks at it, and he goes, well, they look like footballs. He says, I'm supposed to be a football player. Why don't we work with the stuntman and come up with some sort of, I'm the All-American guy, that we can turn this into a football scene. It was brilliant. And so I thought, well, I'm supposed to be the All-American girl, and so I should have been a cheerleader somewhere in my career. So that's when I actually came up with the line, Go, Flash, Go, which was...
Do it like you mean it.
Go, Flash, go! Go, Flash, go!
Yeah.
Which I repeated throughout the movie, and it was never written there. So, yep. We both, he started and I finished it. So there you go.
And the other iconic line from Melody was, we only have how much?
Oh, Flash, we only have 14 hours to save the world. Yeah. I mean, where does that come from?
It's my favorite.
It's the stupidest line, and it's so funny and so great. Again, Lorenzo Sample Jr., we got to thank him. He wrote some great stuff.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So these will be our last two right over here, and then we'll end up a sparkly hat and pointy thing. We're good.
Thank you so much for being here. But I was wondering, have you ever been out on the street and somebody goes, it's you, and then identify you as somebody totally different?
First of all, I get fan letters to Melody Rogers, who's in her 70s now, was on F Troop. Okay, dear Melody, I loved you in Flash. And then I have gotten things from, I did a movie about Marilyn Monroe, and Leslie Ann Warren, who's actually a friend of mine, had played her as well, and is older than me. And somebody sent her picture for me to sign for the Marilyn Monroe thing. And I get a lot of Melanie Griffiths. Yeah, okay. And ask me if it makes me happy. Sure, yeah.
With me all the time. I mean, yes. Dolph Lundgren. I had the high flat top, for years. But no, it gets to the point where it gets to be, you need a psychoanalyst, because where was I? I was in Austria, doing a ski show a couple Christmases ago, and I had a bad ski injury. I was coming out of surgery in my shoulder. And anyway, long story short, as I was sitting there in the what's it called, the warming hut? No, afterwards, yeah. So this lady and her daughter came up to me, and they just, gaga goo goo, and I thought they were going to talk about Flash Gordon, and they said, oh, we just love your work, and they started naming all these movies off, and I said, I didn't do any of those. And I, so I knew where they were going, And she said, Dolph, can you sign this verse? And I said, my name's Sam Jones, and I played Flash Gordon. You know what her reply was? And I get this reply a lot. Stop being a spoiled person. Stop being a spoiled celebrity and just sign it, please. Okay, Dolph Lundgren. Blessings. It's the God's truth. I've done that 5 times. Yeah, it's true.
Thank you very much.
You can't make this up.
Awesome. All right, last one, no pressure.
I was just wondering, did anybody really think that the theme song would be as iconic as it is, when it first came out?
Yeah, no. I mean, when you hear it, you go, that is unbelievably fantastic. But again, you have no idea where things are going to go. And many for both of us, our things have gotten highlighted and become iconic. I did a horror movie called Dead and Buried, which has become iconic. And you just don't know, but you do know when you hear something pretty spectacular, and that was that Queen song. Thanks.
Yes. Did you guys get to hang out with Queen at all a little bit? Awesome.
We didn't invite you.
I know. It's true. It's true. Were you hanging out at Tramp, the club?
Yes, and I met Freddie Mercury. You can touch my hand.
And probably Rod Stewart at that time, and Mick Jagger, and Bianca
No,
Jagger.
they didn't invite me either. But no, I met them at a party in a club in London, and just great guys. And Freddie Mercury is charismatic. What can I say? You get around that energy, it's just like I am a fly, because he's such an amazing person on so many levels, or was. Yeah. All right, everybody.
Awesome. Okay. Please give it up, Sam Jones, Melody Anderson.
Yes. Thank you.
We're going to take a quick